All right, meeting up.
Ladies and gentlemen, you know what that music means here on the Extra Mile. It is time for the playoffs once again in the Monster Energy NASCAR Cup Series. Round 1 is already complete, and Martin Truex Jr. has staked his claim to the second round already, but who will join him? We will find out this week at Richmond. I will be there to see who else notches their seat into round number 2. Also, the NTT Indycar Series comes to an end this weekend. We find out who wins the championship, and in Formula One, we get to the Singapore Grand Prix and some silly season news as hit before the start of the weekend. We're going to get into all of that here on this edition of the Extra Mile, and joining me this evening is my co-host, Miss Caitlin Seam. Hello, Caitlin. Calling Caitlin.
Oh, I think I heard you there. I sent you a message. I can hear you.
There we go.
I now know what spotters and drivers feel like when they're trying to get connection on a racetrack.
And you probably can't hear me because it's probably something up with the new Windows
I got
update.
you now.
Okay, give me a minute. I need to shut the door. Goodness, you miss a week and it feels like you forget everything you're supposed to do. So the reason you probably couldn't hear me is because Windows did an update and it changed the way Voicemeeter interacts. So
Yeah, you started the show and then all I heard was eat, and I was like, oh no.
Yeah. So basically, Windows updates sometimes are the devil, and it did something to how Voicemeeter works. So Voicemeeter is working in a different way, and it probably messed up how you were hearing me. Hopefully, people actually heard me and not the beeping, but we will find out here before too long. But anyway, let's go ahead and start the show. It has been a while since I have actually been on this program, it feels like, although it was only a week, but it's like the last couple of weeks have been alternating in, out with the start of grad school and all that jazz. But I am now here until
we crisscross pretty much. I realized, Daryl, that we've not been on this show together in just over a month now.
No, we haven't. And we haven't had all 4 of us together in about a month.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, that streak is continuing because Lita was in the hospital this week because of a peanut issue, or a peanut allergy, excuse me. We just want to...
Peanut allergies are no joke, folks.
No, they are not. And we just want to hope that she gets well soon, because those are nothing to mess with. Food allergies in general are just nothing to mess with. So, Lita, if you're listening, get well soon, and we will see you next week. And hopefully, we will all be together again next week. I promise all 4 of us are going to be on another show before the end of this season and before we have our stint during the Rolex 24 coverage for USRN next week.
I can tell you it's not going to be in 2 weeks, though, Daryl. I will not be here in 2 weeks.
Yeah.
I will be camped out in the middle of the Great Smoky Mountains this time 2 weeks from now.
That sounds like a lot of fun. You
bear
enjoy
country.
That.
Yeah, I had to talk to a ranger from a forest ranger because they have to make sure it's all acknowledged. They're like, you are hiking in bear country, so every night we have to string up our packs and everything.
Please stay away from the bears.
I don't like the bears, so hopefully I don't really have to deal with bears.
Please stay away from the bears, Caitlin.
I'll do my best. That would be a story to come back with.
Yes. So let's go ahead and get into the show. We're going to start with Formula One this evening because there is some silly season news. Some of it good, and some of it, if you're a Haas fan, you just kind of shake your head and go,
Are there Haas fans at this point in time?
I am.
Are you still after the news?
Kinda. I don't know. We'll get to that in a minute. First,
I just thought I'd clarify.
We'll get into that in a minute. First, we're going to start with the news that Robert Kubica will not be with Williams next season. That was announced today, actually, and this more than likely will call time on his Formula One career. Kubica started out in the Formula Renault 2000 Euro Cup in 2001 before advancing all the way to Formula One as a Renault F1 reserve driver in 2005. He moved over to BMW Sauber, where he raced from 2006 to 2009, then ran 1 year with Renault in 2010. He would then take a hiatus from Formula One to go run the World Rally Championship until an incident would partially sever his hand and end his racing career for a little while before he came back in 2018 and 2019 as a test driver for Williams and then driving all of this season. Kubica's 34, which is pretty much, for a F1 driver, you might as well be a fossil at this point. He did a lot in his career, but the hand injury was limiting him, and Williams, not the most competitive team. I think this is the right time for Kubica to bow out and say goodbye.
Did he decide to leave, or did they decide to make him leave?
We are, from what it sounds like, he decided to leave, but who knows what was going on behind the scenes.
But if you think about it, you're at Williams. It's not it's not competitive in terms of anything when it comes to this series. And so I wonder if part of it's like that frustration, but two, like, I guess it's one of those things that I've kind of thought about before. Like, if I was a top-tiered athlete in anything, but I was stuck somewhere where I was never going to win, you can't love it because they go into every week knowing they're not going to win. Like, even like, I mean, top 10 is a win for them at this point. You know what I mean? And so, like, you kind of just wonder if that kind of steals the joy out of whatever you do. I almost wonder if that's what it is with him, because if I was on a race team where, like, if I didn't finish in last place, it's a good day, I don't think I could handle that for very long.
I wouldn't have lasted this season, but
I almost just wonder if that's, and obviously you can't say that as a driver because there's such a fine line with publicity, but I almost just wonder if that's it, is that, he fought back to come back after everything that he's been through. And at this point in time in his life, he's probably like, you know what? I still have enough time to actually enjoy my life. So I might as well just cut cords down, because he probably fell out of love with it. Let's be honest. How much do you love a sport if you go in there every day competing for last?
Well, go ask the Miami Dolphins how that feels, because they are pretty much going to finish 0-16 in the NFL. But that is what Williams is. They are Formula One's Miami Dolphins, where they are basically playing out the string.
They're just a filler.
Yeah, they have a single point. 1 point in the entire season. They are not moving from 20th by the end of this season. In fact, we were taking bets early in the season that they were not going to score a point this season until that wild German Grand Prix where they lucked into a point. So it can't be fun for Williams. If you watch Drive to Survive, Claire Williams is just fed up with the whole thing. But the way she talks, she is not having any fun with this. There's no way Robert was having any fun. And a lot of people thought that Robert Kubica was going to come in and all of a sudden make Williams competitive again. Why did y'all think that?
It doesn't matter how talented a driver is if you don't have the equipment to compete.
especially in Formula One where it's 70% car. What in this team's makeup made y'all think he was going to come in and all of a sudden start competing for podiums? You know, it wasn't like it almost validates Lance Stroll's performance in that car, where you see how badly Kubica has struggled over the year and how slowly George Russell has run as well.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. It's like they like got him. They're like, he's going to save the season. And then reality struck. And then he went, I'm not saving shit, and decided to walk out the door.
Look, Lewis,
there's the thing. I just don't see, at this point, I almost wonder if like Formula One is bribing Williams to stay open, or if they're just staying a team out of spite because poor Claire doesn't want this team to fold under her. You know what I mean? Like, that's the only thing I can think of is one of those two things, because it's just not good anymore. Like, it's just, do something else at this point.
We've talked about that before, by the way. Thinking that Claire's just...
after we watched the episode of them with not Nearest the Win. Drive to Survive?
Yeah. And
I just made our own Netflix show.
And I can't wait till season 2, although the Belgian episode's going to be tough to watch. Belgian Grand Prix episode's going to be tough to watch. I don't know if Claire's keeping the team open, like you said, just out of pure spite, or if she's at this point where she's actually trying to fix it. I don't know how you fix it, because Williams' plight and how badly Formula One is run now is so intertwined. I don't think there's a way to actually fix this or fix that team, because the money's not coming in. I'm pretty sure Rocket, however it's pronounced, is not bringing in the money that Martini was, and they were getting the Martini money and were barely an average team. Now they've lost that money, and they're basically in the minority / any other team you really want to put there. The minority / Spiker / Virgin / Marussia / that weird Lotus amalgamation that came back and then wasn't, because then the name got switched over to Renault thing that happened / HRT position, where it's like, oh, they're actually still here. You know? Like, and it's sad because Williams, and for this matter McLaren, used to be two of the top teams in the sport. And there's an entire generation of fans now that will not know that because of how poorly they've run the last couple of years. I mean, there's a whole generation of fans that only knows McLaren as the team where the engines broke before the race started, and Williams being mired in 19th and 20th every week. And that's not what these teams were. They used to run for championships, and it's sad.
Well, and just like I said, and it's disheartening for that group. So really, honestly, at that point, I feel like I'd rather be home than be miserable for a whole weekend, for how many weekends out of the year, knowing that you're going to suck.
Right.
So maybe, maybe that's what it is. Maybe this was him going, you know what, I gave this relationship my best effort. I tried. I rubbed your feet. I got the dishes. I made sure the laundry was always taken care of, and you gave me nothing in return but complained about it. So I'm not going to do this anymore. Like, I mean, I just kind of think that has to be what it is, because what else we got?
It's not a lot, and there is not a lot of hope in it if you are a fan of the Williams team right now. It is a poor situation for them, unfortunately.
Who has more fans, Williams or Haas?
Probably Williams at this point, and we're going to get to that, and we're going to get to that right now, because the other side of the silly season news heading into Singapore is Haas named their driver lineup for 2020. And if you were hoping,
it's more like a clown lineup than it is a driver lineup.
Yeah, and if you were hoping that Roman Grosjean was not going to be a part of it, I've got some bad news for you. Roman Grosjean is going to be back with Haas next season.
You know what this is like? This is like you going out to the Everglades and trying to pet an alligator. And the alligator bites off your hand. At first, you're kind of shocked, and it hurts. But then what do you do next? You decide to try to pet it with your other hand. Like, what do you think's going to happen? Ugh. It's stupid.
Look,
I no longer care.
I'm over it. I really am. Like, you've seen Grosjean just fall apart. And by now, we've seen Drive to Survive. We saw how the team talked about him. Heck, at the Spanish Grand Prix, other teams were talking about Grosjean was going to be the first one to wreck. And guess who was the first one to wreck? Roman Grosjean.
They didn't even invite him to lunches.
They didn't invite him to the team dinner in his own home country.
But they're inviting him back to race some more. My only answer to this is that he literally must be making them a money offer that they cannot refuse.
How much money are they getting from Jack and Jones that he's still here? Like,
I don't that's the only thing I can guess at this point, because it doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't.
It doesn't make any sense. Like, here's the thing is, we might rip into Williams about their disastrous self, but at least they keep trying to improve. Haas does not try to improve anything. Nothing that they do is them trying to improve. It's embarrassing that this is the American team.
Yeah, and they have regressed from their first couple of years at this point. You can say that officially. They have regressed. They went from a team that was ready to score podiums to a team that is barely holding on to 8th place. A 5th place finish in the points this year, after how last season went, would be a disaster. This team was expected to race for top of the midfield. And if we go over to the constructor standings on F1, you want to know where they are? You want to know where they are right now? They're 9th. They were 8th at one point. They're down to 9th. This is a disaster for them. And between everything that went on with Rich Energy, which, by the way, they had a parting shot for Haas that we'll get to here in a minute, but I don't get it. I really don't get why Grosjean's still here.
Like I said, I feel like this truly is like the last parting shot for Haas.
Mm-hmm.
Like, Haas is officially in dumpster fire mode, but instead of trying to bring a fire extinguisher or calling the fire department, what they've decided to do is add more trash to the dumpster fire.
Yes.
But it's just what it is. Now there is no good thing that I can say about Haas going forward. Because apparently karma is a little biatch, because you had all this stuff happen with Rich Energy, and we're all like, man, it really sucks for Haas. But you know what? No, at this point, you kind of deserved it, people. You kind of deserved it. What is it? There's that saying that used to say when you were a kid, I'm rubber, you're glue. Anything you say bounces off to me and sticks to you. Mm-hmm. It's like that kind of situation right now.
And speaking of words, Rich Energy had a final parting shot as Haas has now ripped the Rich Energy logos off the car. Which, by the way, weren't they supposed to stop using this logo of the antlers? Yeah. But we'll talk about that in a minute. We wish Haas F1 team... This is from Rich Energy's official Twitter, by the way. @Rich_Energy. We wish Haas F1 the best of luck negotiating selling the team to Saudi investors. An excellent team and great investment. # Haas F1 sale business F1 Singapore GP Rich Energy, better than Red Bull. So, they have like a million hashtags at the end of this tweet. I'm not reading all of them.
It's so petty.
First, even if they are trying to court,
you don't even have money, people. Like,
Saudi
why are
Arabian,
they?
Yeah, even if they're trying to court Saudi Arabia money, that's a lot more money than you gave them.
No kidding.
2, pretty sure you were not supposed to say that, so pretty sure you probably committed some sort of crime. And as our resident Brit, Matt White, says, Rich Energy and their owner have just completely lost the plot. Which means they're completely out of their mind at this point. And Rich Energy, just go somewhere. Go somewhere. Leave F1 in peace.
Dig a deep, dark hole and just go away.
And never return.
And never return.
You were the worst F1 sponsor. Ever.
I'm pretty sure they're just one of the worst companies ever.
Yes, I would also agree with that. Just go away and don't bother us. So we're coming into Singapore this weekend, a race that can be seen Saturday evening, I believe. That's how the whole time schedule is going to work. Actually, no, it's going to be because of how the time zone works. This race will actually be on Sunday morning for once, so it'll be at 8 in the morning here, or you can see it on ESPN. And the question is this Ferrari pace for real? Will they make it 3 in a row? Will Mercedes strike back and pick up a win? Can Red Bull get back on the winning ways? Not that it really matters, because let's be honest, Mercedes has this wrapped up, but it will at least make the final races of the season a little bit more interesting.
Bet it would.
Yes. And this is also, and the reason why this race is going to be on Sunday, because I forgot, this is F1's first ever night race. Well, they've had more night races this season, but this one was the first ever. So this is going to be a night race in Singapore. Probably a good thing, because Singapore's temperatures during the day, during this time of the year,
they probably feel like North Carolina.
I think they'd rather be in North Carolina than deal with the Singapore temperatures. I'm actually going to look those up.
You should.
For you right now.
Because minus like these last 2 days, we've been in the upper 90s way too much.
It's going to be
with like 80% humidity. What?
It's going to be 90 degrees with 65% humidity.
It's North Carolina.
On Sunday.
I feel right at home. Which is bull.
Ew.
I'm just letting you guys know ahead of time that literally the heat in North Carolina at this stage of the year makes me question why I live here.
By the time the race ends, it's going to be 85. It's going to be a cool, crisp 85 degrees with 74% humidity in Singapore.
Delicious.
Just ew. So this race is going to be
But there's no such thing as global warming.
Nope. Although some of this might just be Singapore temperatures, because during the day it's usually even worse around this time. I think this is actually cool for around this time of the month in Singapore. So this is a fun race. I actually like this speedway. It's a street race, but it's got some passing zones, a lot of quick areas, so horsepower is going to be important. Should put this square as Ferrari as the favorite, but the lack of downforce needed to get around these corners, Lewis Hamilton believes that it's going to be those guys over at Red Bull that are going to have the advantage this weekend. Personally, I'm going to say it's Mercedes until proven otherwise in qualifying. We'll see how that goes this weekend, and we'll make our picks at the end of the program. So we're going to take a break. We're going to come back, and we're going to talk NASCAR.
Should we pick a winner first?
Well, we'll pick all the winners at once, because we've got a couple that we need to do. Unless you want to pick them right now. Just make it easier for Matt.
We can do them all at once.
Okay, so we'll do them all at once. When we come back, We're going to talk about NASCAR because Kyle Busch did a thing, and it was kind of a funny thing. Then it became a dang it,
a
Kyle
dumb thing
type thing. Talk about it on the other side of the break here on the Extra Mile on iSports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
What up, all you boxing fans? This is Vince Wright, the sports governor, and me and Gilbert Batista are the host of Ringside on IE Sports Radio. Make sure you keep it tuned to IE Sports Radio, Spreaker.com for the latest edition of Ringside. All the boxing news you need right here. Keep it tuned, Spreaker.com, IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, IE Sports Radio proudly brings to you its intergender tag team champions of the world. Yes, I am Martin Sandoval. My co-host is Felicia, and we are the hosts of The Gorilla Position, live Saturday mornings, 8 a.m. Pacific, 10 a.m. Central, 11 a.m. Eastern. We bring to you all the latest in news and rumors and opinions and perspectives on the world of professional wrestling. We bring you guys the latest in WWE, Ring of Honor, Impact Wrestling, New Japan Pro Wrestling, and including independent wrestling such as Pro Wrestling Guerrilla, and here, VIP Wrestling live from Texas. Yes, it is The Gorilla Position with myself, Martin Sandoval, and my co-host Felicia, live on Spreaker.com and on iTunes.
Attention, all sports fans! If you're someone who wakes up each morning with lists of sporting events to go along with your to-do list for the day, then you just might be a diehard. The world of sports is as vast as the ocean is deep, including the major leagues, the minor leagues, the college, and everything in between. This is me, your boy Larry B of IE Sports Radio, welcoming you to join me every Monday evening at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern on The Defining Moment, a show that focuses on what really matters in the sports world, sports themselves, and nothing outside of them. Once again, tune in for The Defining Moment with me, your boy Larry B, every Monday evening at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern on IE Sports Radio, right here on Spreaker.com. We'll see you there.
We're back here on the Extra Mile on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports. Caitlin and Daryl here with you this evening. Michael and Lita are off this weekend. We will see them back very, very soon. We're going to continue into the show. We're going to get into NASCAR. And we're going to get into what happened at Las Vegas with one Mr. Kyle Busch. And Caitlin, I've said it on this show about 1,000,000 times now, so here comes 1,000,001. I will never argue with the man. I will never argue with you based on the man's talent, except for when he wants to go run Xfinity and truck. Maybe want to act like he's God's gift to motorsports, and it's like, come on, really? However, every time I think I'm going to turn the corner and actually like Kyle Busch, he does a thing that makes me just go, and that is why I do not like him. Every time. Does not fail. This time, the situation kind of wasn't Kyle's fault. Late in the race, he's following William Byron just as they're going into turn one. Moves to the left. Byron moves to the left, and there's Garrett Smithley running about 15 miles off the pace, parked in the middle of the racing groove in turn one. Kyle Busch already committed to the turn, can't get out of his way, ends up running into the back of Smithley. Excuse me. Damages the right front of the car. He ends up falling back to 19th, and Kyle was a angry potato after the race, as he should be, because a lap car, which by the way, the lap cars were shocking in their behavior on Sunday night.
Maybe they all just partied too hard, and they were all still trying to recover.
They raced.
Maybe they're all suffering from mono, like Sam Darnold.
I mean, they race like they party too hard in Vegas, but so Kyle gets to the NBCSN interview, drops a couple of Kyle bombs, as I'm going to call them. One of them was basically saying that we're at the top level of motorsport and we have guys haven't even won late model races up here, which drew the ire of Garrett Smithley and Joey Gase, who fought back against Kyle by proving his point in their rebuttals, because that made sense. And then made a little quip about his insurance premiums going up when asked about having the playoff points being an insurance into the next round. That was funny. I like that, Kyle, because when Kyle Busch is mad and gives us those quips, it's funny and shows that he has personality. And then he gets in front of the post-race media bullpen and does classic Kyle, where you get barely 2-word answers, then he complains about the media and storms off.
Did he pick his nose this time?
No, he did not.
That's something.
But they're asking him questions. Basic questions you're going to hear, because if you haven't done one of these, at most, you get 3 minutes with these guys. It's not like truck and like the trucks, for example, at Pocono, where we had them for a good 5 minutes. When it's Cup, you are lucky to get 3 minutes and they're gone. So you have to ask quick, simple questions. So people were asking the quick questions, and he's giving the one-word answers, gives the Marshawn Lynch, I'm only here because I'm not get fined, then storms off because apparently he gets asked the same blanking questions every week. Welcome to being a Cup Series driver, Kyle. You've been here for, 15 years now? You know how this works. Like, I get it. You're mad that Garrett Smithley was being Garrett Smithley and being 15 miles off the pace. That is not the media's fault. We're just trying to get your side of the story. And you don't want to give it. That ticks a lot of people off. That's why a lot of people are not your fan. Because every time something doesn't go your way, you act like this. You act like a child, and it's not. It was barely appreciated before he was a champion. Then he became a champion. Now it's even less acceptable at this point.
And there's a difference between being the villain and accepting being the villain and just whining.
Yeah.
And this is just whining.
And it's sad because
like I just need you, if you're going to do it, just like commit to it. You know what I mean? And that's when I enjoy Kyle Busch at his finest. Is when he was the villain, but he'd commit to being the villain and he'd accept it, and it was an entertaining villain. Yeah. This whole like whiny whatever he's been doing these last few weeks, not really working.
And that's the thing.
And because if you think about it, it's been a couple months now that he's been like this.
Well, they did not have a good summer, and he's watching the rest of his teammates win. I mean, Eric Jones got a win before he won again, so I'd be upset too, but
true.
The thing is, going into this week, here's the thing. People want to compare him to Earnhardt. Earnhardt did not act like this when things didn't go his way. Earnhardt Sr. did not cry and whine to the media and act like they're doing him wrong. He played up to the media. He knew how to play that game. That's what made him one of the most popular drivers ever. And Earnhardt learned that quickly. Kyle either knows it and just does it when he feels like it, or just doesn't care at this point. Because he can't say he doesn't know how to do it, because he knows how to play to the media. He just doesn't care to do it. And I don't
That's a good way to put it.
It's like, you want to wear the black hat? Well, wear the black hat. But don't
he just has to commit.
Yeah, commit to the bit, as they say.
Be the villain.
Yeah. But there's
Don't be a whiner.
Right, but there's a difference between being the villain and whining.
Absolutely.
But don't tell Kyle Busch fans that, because they'll say you're hating. And I'm sorry, if you're over 21 and using the word hating, someone needs to slap you. Just going to throw that out there. But the real problem with this race was the back marker cars. Spire, Rick Ware, and whoever runs Garrett Smithley and Joey Gase's cars. Caitlin, I'm not lying when I say this. It felt like 5 laps after a restart, Joey Gase was getting lapped. That's how slow that car was at some point. I don't know how he was meeting minimum speed. The leaders would come up to the lap cars, and there's one in the high lane, one in the middle lane, and you can't get around them because they're having just a titanic battle for 31st place. And somebody will probably invariably whine that, oh, they're racing too. They are 5 laps down. They can move over and continue their battle at their leisure. Like, it's ridiculous that we're getting to the most important races of the season, and these teams, these backmarker teams, it's like they've forgotten the etiquette when you're the slower car. Yes, the faster car has the obligation to pass you safely. You also have the obligation of not being a rolling roadblock. And if you're going to be that slow, I'd rather you start in park than you stay on the track and be a nuisance for everybody.
Especially during the playoffs. Like, I just feel like at this point, it's just like how Cup drivers aren't allowed to race during the playoffs for the trucks and for the Xfinity series during their playoff series. I honestly feel like it should almost be that kind of line at this point too. Like, I'm not saying everybody not in the playoffs, but like these kind of people, like there should be a hard and fast rule. Like if you aren't on anything, if you are in anybody's way, inhibiting any type of play, anything when it comes to these playoff chase stuff, then you shouldn't be on the track at that point.
Well, the way I feel about it is when we get to the playoffs, if you're 10 laps down and we're about to start the third stage, and I'm not going to take credit for saying this, but I've heard this, and we may have said it on the USRN broadcast on Sunday. If you are 10 laps down or more going into the third stage, you just need to park it. There is no reason for you to be out on the speedway getting in everybody's way. And that's what these cars were doing on Sunday. On Sunday. Like at one point we're calling the race, and it's either Logano or Larson. No, it was Logano. And Joey Gase just chops his nose off. Like, what are you doing? Logano's already going low, and Gase just keeps coming and coming and coming and coming. It's like, what are you doing? You're not racing him for position. Like, why are you running him that hard?
Joey Gase, or was it one of our non-favorite little race car drivers that we know whose name is Natalie Decker. Maybe she hid in there. It sounds like something she'd do.
Well, I will say Natalie actually had a decent run on. That race was on Friday until mechanical issues, so I will not really I won't really club Natalie too hard this weekend, but as I would say that for the lap cars that ran on Sunday, this pretty much describes everyone trying to get around them.
Inside.
But then also, here's a question for you. Oh, are you still there? Did you go away?
Oh, I was playing the Natalie Decker sound.
Oh, I can't hear you. Okay. Let me know when it's done.
It's finished.
Did we wreck?
Yes. I mean, that should have been what happened. It was really just a ridiculous situation.
Poor Kevin Hamlin.
Yeah, poor Kevin Hamlin. So you had something to add before I accidentally cut you off.
I did, but I don't remember.
Well, the cars we were talking about, Joey Gase only completed 249 of 267 laps running at the finish. Reed Sorensen, 250. Eric Jones, 254. Eric actually ran into transmission issues. That's why he's this far back. Garrett Smithley, 255 laps. Joe Nemechek, the Spire cars, 257. BJ McLeod in one of the armada of Rick Ware racing cars. Actually, Smithley's in the other Rick Ware racing car. Now that I look at it, 52, 51. JJ Yaley, 53. Ross Chastain, 15, 262. These cars are so far off the pace, and it speaks to the problem of where we are with field size, because back when we had 48, 50 cars showing up, these cars would not run the race. You know, your Smithleys, your McLeods, your Sorensens, their cars wouldn't have made the race on time. But now that the fields are so shrunk, they just get in.
And I think that's part of the problem. Mm-hmm. Because all of a sudden we went from the Cup Series being this upper teams, the best that you can have, the best teams, the best drivers and everything. We went from that to literally, if you show up with a car, you're practically guaranteed to get in.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's not this upper crust, top tier type of racing anymore.
No.
We're kind of looking at that same equivalent almost in Formula One, just a little bit larger, that you have your upper teams, and then you have like the lower crumb rats, and that's about it.
Yeah.
I don't know what a crumb rat is, but I just made it up.
So before we go to break, let's go over the playoff grid as it stands after one race has been run. Martin Truex Jr. has already locked himself in by winning at Vegas. Kevin Harvick is second. Joey Logano third. Kyle Busch only fell to fourth at 36 to the good. Joey Logano's 48 to the good, and Kevin Harvick 52 to the good. Brad Keselowski up by 31 points on the 12th place cut line in fifth. Chase Elliott in sixth, 30 up, and Denny Hamlin 29 up in 7th. 8th through 12th is Kyle Larson, 17 up. William Byron, 13 up. Ryan Blaney, 12 ahead of the cut line. Alex Bowman, 10 points over. And Eric Almirola is currently the bubble boy. He sits 6 points above the cut line. And Ryan Newman, Kurt Busch, Clint Boyer, and Eric Jones are chasing him down. And they'll have another chance this Saturday night at Richmond Raceway, for the Federated Autoports 400, which I will be at this Saturday night. You can watch that race on NBCSN at 7:30. And I hope it's a good race, but it's also going to be a track where it is admittedly hard to pass, and the lap cars will be in the way, and probably we will be hearing a lot of instances of,
We're wrecked.
and probably going to be a lot of unhappy people. So we will take a break. We're going to come back, And we're going to go over the scenarios in IndyCar to figure out who's going to be the champion of the NTT Data Indycar Series, But before then, we'll have hot laps. And then we'll come back to wrap up the show here on the Extra Mile on IE Sports Radio, your direct feed for all that is sports.
From the home plate to the nets, the end zone to the finish line, here nothing is off limits and no sport is safe. Not what it seems, with your host Caitlin Seam, bringing you sports like you've never heard before. Catch me Thursdays at 5 p.m. Eastern, 2 p.m. Pacific, right here on IE Sports Radio. The only question is, are you ready?
Hi everybody, it's Calvin here from USRN, here to give you an important message. Since 2017, we have done our absolute best to provide you with nothing but the highest quality of sports calls in the greatest of quantity possible. Thanks to you, our station has grown more than we ever thought. That's why, with your help, we would like to grow even further. Just think, twice the amount of your favorite calls, 24 hours of coverage, talk shows, play-by-play, game-by-game analysis, and so much more. That's right, USRN2 is officially in development, but we can't do it alone. We have set up a GoFundMe page that you can access from our homepage on the left of your screen. We also are planning special giveaways and prizes to our highest donors. Our goal here at USRN is to bring you the best calls possible at no cost to you. In order to continue to do that, we need your help now. Please check out our GoFundMe page, and if you would like to know how you can help, you can email usrnradio@gmail.com. Without your support, we couldn't do what we do.
Welcome back to the Extra Mile here on IE Sports Radio, your great feed for all that is sports. It's time for Hot Laps. Matt here from across the pond at Two Wheels Towers. We've had a great MotoGP weekend at Misano at the weekend, a race won by Marc Marquez, the third MotoGP race in a row that has featured a last lap pass for the victory. Lots of car stuff as well. V8 Supercars were in New Zealand, and two Kiwi winners, Shane Van Gisbergen and Scott McLaughlin, sharing the victories at Pukekohe. The World Touring Cars were back after an extremely long summer break. Ivan Muller taking two victories and Norbert Nicholas getting one in China. WRC were in Turkey. Sebastian Ogier getting a victory there with his championship rival Oitanek failing to finish. British Touring Cars were up in Scotland this weekend. Wins for Rory Butcher, Andrew Jordan and Jake Hill. René Rast clinched his second DTM championship at the weekend at the Nürburgring, a third position in race 2, enough for him to seal the championship with one round left to go. Kevin Hansen won the penultimate round of World Rallycross in Latvia. Austin Hill, the Truck Series winner on Friday night in Vegas. Tyler Reddick just about held on fumes in the Xfinity race to hold off Christopher Bell. And of course we had Martin Truex Jr. winning the Cup race. IMSA in action as well in Laguna Seca. A win for Juan Pablo Montoya and his teammate Dane Cameron in the prototype class. They're heading towards Petit Le Mans next, the final round of the season. Talking of final round of the season, it's the final IndyCar round of the season this weekend at Laguna Seca. And it's, as we know, it's double points. So why not make Nearest the Win a double point weekend this weekend? If you pick the correct IndyCar winner for the Laguna Seca round, you'll receive 4 Nearest the Win points to your tally. The Abu Dhabi F1 race and NASCAR at Homestead will also be double points in Nearest the Win. So that means it is all to play for. Caitlin leading by 3 at the moment. Get your picks in using hashtag Nearest the Win.
We are back here on the Extra Mile. Thank you so much, Matt, for that update. And Caitlin, I don't know if you heard that, but the special breaking news: this weekend's IndyCar race in Nearest the Win is going to count for 4 points if you can pick the winner. Double points. I just
want to point out that I think they did that just because they don't want me to win. That's my answer to all of this bull.
Matt, Caitlin's claiming conspiracy.
Winning. Yes. Might as well be the referees in football.
Oh,
don't want me to win.
Are we gonna have a New Orleans Saints situation if you end up not winning this somehow?
Absolutely.
Oh goodness. Well, the thing is, if you get
I'll throw every flag.
Well, here's the thing: if you're the one who ends up winning the 4 points, then you pretty much push the boat out on who's going to win this thing. Because, as we've seen this season, it's been really hard to pick winners, especially multiple winners. It really has been. I mean, we didn't pick our. We went from May to August without picking a NASCAR winner. That's how bad we were.
Yeah. Well, because here it is, Larry is 4 points behind me.
Mm-hmm. Because Larry waits till after qualifying everything to pick.
Yeah.
Mainly because he's not here to actually pick on Thursday. But
so, 4 points, Matt. At this point, I'm gonna change my mind and pick whatever Larry's picking. There's no way for him to beat me.
So the Firestone Grand Prix of Monterey is going to wrap up the season for IndyCar this weekend. September 22nd, that race can be seen on NBC at 2:30. And going into the race, Alexander Rossi leads by 41. Oh, no, sorry, not Alexander Rossi. Joseph Newgarden leads Alexander Rossi by 41 points. But that is not insurmountable with double points, ironically, this weekend. Simon Pagenaud is down by 42, and Scott Dixon is the one that really needs a lot of help. He is 85 down. So before we say goodnight today, or before we say goodnight this evening, we're going to go over the scenarios to decide who's going to win the championship. The most simplest one is for Newgarden. He finishes 4th or higher. He wins the championship no matter what happens behind him. Once he gets out of that 4th position, it starts getting a little bit convoluted, because once it gets to 5th, Alexander Rossi with a couple of bonus points ends up winning the championship. If Newgarden finishes 6th or worse, if Rossi wins the race, he wins the title. If Pagenaud wins, Newgarden finishes 6th or worse, then Pagenaud wins the title no matter what Alexander Rossi does. Scott Dixon needs the most help, and all this can be seen, by the way, on the NTT Indycar Series website, which made this handy-dandy guide of all of these scenarios. Dixon needs to win. Newgarden basically has to finish out of the race. Rossi has to finish 7th or worse, and Pagenaud has to finish 6th or worse for Dixon to steal the title. Now, taking Dixon out of it, because that pretty much requires a driven level of stuff to go the way he needs it. Pagenaud and Rossi, they have realistic ways to get to the title, especially when you look at Newgarden has thrown away races in the last lap in 2 of the last few races. At Mid-Ohio, was going for second place, ends up spinning out, finishes back in the pack. In Gateway, ends up getting almost clobbered by Santino Ferrucci, ends up losing a couple of spots. If Newgarden has an issue on the last lap at Laguna Seca, he could end up off in the dirt, and that could end up costing him a championship. Caitlin?
Oh, there you are again. You keep breaking up on me.
I'm sorry about that.
Don't let it cost Joseph Newgarden a championship. No. I don't know if that's who you're talking about, but no.
Yes. Last couple of races, he's had issues, though, at the final lap. We've seen that.
Yeah. Well, yes. Yeah.
So, and that's what I was talking about. Last couple of races, Mid-Ohio and at Gateway, he had issues where he ended up spinning on the last lap, ended up costing him points. And this weekend, if that happens, it could cost him a championship.
You'd have to have some very severe bad luck, but you can't. Anything's possible, especially with how hungry these other drivers are for the win and for the championship win, double win.
I think this is one of those races also where, for all these championship contenders, you put the best bullets in the gun that you have as far as equipment, because you don't want any sort of mechanical failure taking you out of the championship, because it could happen, and it would be disappointing if that were to happen, where one of these guys ends up losing the championship because of a mechanical drama, because you want to see them race it out. You don't want to see somebody win the championship because because the other team is pushing the car behind the wall because it had an issue.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like that's like, you hope that it'll just become a race out, like that it's all on how they race. Mm-hmm. Because I always just feel like if there's technical issues, it just, I don't know, it makes it a little unfair and a little unfun. Because you're just like, I mean, I guess unfair is not the right word, but you're kind of disappointed by it. Like, it's one thing to be racing somebody hard and the reason you lose is because you're both very good, but they irked out on you, compared to, oh, I won by default because somebody had a, box issue or an issue with a tire or a wing, or, you know what I mean? Like,
yeah. You do not want to see that happen this weekend.
No.
And I'm hoping that it should be a good race. Unfortunately, I will not be able to see it because I will actually be out in Daytona. Actually, no, I'll be out probably coming back from Richmond, so I probably will not get to see the race.
You're going to the NASCAR race?
Yeah, I'm going to the NASCAR race this weekend.
Oh, cool.
Yep.
I'm going next weekend.
Yeah. This was the race that we are getting to replace what happened at Daytona earlier this year. Right. So that's going to be a fun race. I'll probably be watching or listening to this race on the way home on Sunday. I don't think it's supposed to rain this weekend, so we won't have to deal with that this year or this weekend. But I have a story I have to tell once we get off the air about some of the dramas we've had with the tickets. Because there were some dramas with that. But no, I love the double points idea. I know there's some people that don't like it, but it has spiced up the finale of the season, and it's not too gimmicky. It's not a full playoff setup like what NASCAR has, but it's enough to add some juice to things and make it exciting,
Can't be resting on your laurels.
No. And I think if NASCAR should probably take a page out of IndyCar's book, take some races out the schedule, drop the playoff system, and you get a much more compact and compelling season in hindsight. But, of course, NASCAR is a much different beast than IndyCar, and this could have its own issues. Also, trying to sell people that the sport is still healthy while you're cutting races, usually not a good sell. But either way, back to the IndyCar, they're back to a racetrack in Laguna Seca that was a open wheel staple in America for years. And then after the split and the aftermath of the IndyCar Civil War, the track did not host IndyCar for 15 years, but they did host the American Le Mans Series. It hosted the A1 Grand Prix way back when. I used to love that series, by the way. It hosted motorcycle events, and now IndyCar is back at one of its home tracks, and everything is right with the world. Because we're not ending the season at Sonoma again. Hi-oh! I don't know why I did that, but
because you're happy.
It should be an exciting race. Caitlin, who do you want to win the championship?
See, here's what I was thinking.
Mm-hmm.
So I say who I really want to win and jinx them? Or do I pick somebody else and hope that saves the jinx?
I want to see... I'll pick who I want to see, which would be Alexander Rossi, just because it'd be a great story. But I feel like Newgarden is going to have a good day. He's going to play it conservative, and I think he's going to come home with the championship.
That's who I'm picking. Yeah. I'd be happy with either or, because I really do like Rossi now too. Mm-hmm. And I like the back and forth, dark, light, devil, angel thing that they have going on. But still, Newgarden's my baby. Yes. So...
Oh, it's going to be fun. And having these two around, as long as they're in separate teams, IndyCar's got its next great American rivalry that everyone's been clamoring for. So, it's going to be fun times. But it is time for us to say goodbye. Before we do that, of course, we have to make picks. All three series are in action this evening, or this weekend. For Cup, I'm going to take an angry Kyle Busch to win in Richmond. For IndyCar, or not IndyCar, we're going to go Formula 1 first. For Formula 1, I'm going to take... You know what? I haven't picked this guy. I don't think I've picked this guy at all this season. I'm going to pick Max Verstappen to win. Oh. I just feel like Red Bull's got something this weekend. And my IndyCar race winner... Oh, this is going to be tough, because do I pick a champion? Do you pick a championship driver but know they're going to run conservatively? Or pick someone that you think is going to win the race? I'm going to pick a championship driver. I'm going to pick... If I haven't picked this guy already, I'm going to pick Joseph Newgarden to win the race. I don't know if the points count if they win the championship. I don't know if we're doing that, but I'm going to pick Joseph Newgarden. Who do you got this weekend?
I'm going to go Kevin Harvick. He hasn't won there in a while.
No, he hasn't. He is most memorable for trying to run over the car to punch Ricky Rudd back in the day.
Yeah.
In the height of the Happy Harvick era.
And because I think Martin's going to ease back a little bit because he's locked in. I think I picked Kyle Busch last time, so I can't pick him again. Yeah, I'm going to go Harvick. Okay. And then I literally just keep going back between Hamilton and Verstappen in Formula 1. And I know he won last race, so he probably isn't going to win again this race, but I'm going to go with Leclerc because I haven't picked him to win yet this year. Mm-hmm. And for IndyCar, I definitely am going for Newgarden to win the championship. I honest to goodness don't remember who I picked last time to win IndyCar, but I think I'm going to go with Dixon to win the race.
And if you want to play Nearest the Win with us, get your picks in with hashtag Nearest the Win on Twitter before the engines fire on Saturday and Sunday. We're going to get ready to get up out of here. Remember, Caitlin's show comes on 5 p.m., Not What It Seems. I am now broadcasting for BTN Student U, and you can catch me on BTN Plus this Tuesday, where I'm calling a rematch of a stunning game in 2018 that went to double overtime as the Princeton Tigers come to Maryland to face off against the Maryland Terrapins in field hockey. That is at 7:30. Check that out on BTN Plus. You can also catch my writings on WBGRnetwork.com. Lita's, even though she's not here, check that out on GPGirl.com. You can check out all of... Also, don't forget to keep it locked to all of the social media pages on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter. Also, join the website, get involved with the community, and you can also pick up or listen to some past shows on iSportsRadio.com. And also, if you've missed any episode of any iSports Radio show, you can hear it on the Spreaker Show Reel, Stitcher, iTunes, Google Play, Spotify, and of course YouTube as well. And that'll be the end for this episode of The Extra Mile. For Caitlin, I'm Daryl. This has been The Extra Mile, and we will see you at the next green flag. Good night, everybody.